certain kind of loneliness that doesn't arrive in empty rooms. It shows up in the middle of conversations, in groups where you're smiling, in moments where you're physically present but emotionally untouchable. It's the loneliness that forms when your body is there but your existence goes unnoticed. When people hear your words yet never quite feel your presence. It's subtle, almost invisible, like a quiet fading at the edges of your own life. And the strangest part is how normal it begins to feel, how natural it becomes to shrink yourself just to fit into spaces that were never built to hold you. There's a moment, quiet, fleeting, when you're surrounded by people, and yet something inside you sinks. Not dramatically, not in a way anyone would notice. It's more like a gentle drop in your chest, a soft slipping of your presence into the background. You laugh at the right times. You stand where you're supposed to stand. You contribute just enough to seem engaged. But the whole time, there's an invisible distance between you and the world around you. A thin, emotional glass that no one seems to look through. It's a strange kind of isolation. The kind that doesn't come from being alone, but from being uncaptured. From speaking without echo. From existing without imprint. From realizing that proximity is not the same as connection. And inside, there's a quiet ache, a longing to be felt, not just observed, to be understood without having to explain. To have someone notice the subtle shifts in your tone, the pause before your answer, the way your eyes dim when you're tired of pretending to be fine. This loneliness doesn't shout. It lingers. Soft. Persistent. Familiar. Long before you knew the language for loneliness, your body learned the posture of it. Not because you wanted to be visible, but because invisibility was safer than being misunderstood. Maybe the adults in your life were too distracted, too overwhelmed, too self-absorbed, too emotionally unavailable to notice the small shifts inside you. So you adapted. Children always do. You learned to soften your needs so they wouldn't be dismissed. You learned to shrink your emotions so they wouldn't be too much. You learned to stay quiet because speaking didn't change anything. And silence felt less painful than being unheard. Little by little, you stopped expecting attunement. You stopped waiting for someone to ask what you were feeling. You stopped believing your inner world was something others could hold. And without meaning to, you built the earliest version of the self you still carry today. A self that stays small, a self that blends in, a self that doesn't take up emotional space. Not because you lack depth, but because depth was never mirrored back to you. You became the child who went quiet, and the adult who still wonders why being noticed feels almost impossible. At some point, fading became a skill. Not consciously, not something you practiced in front of a mirror, but something your nervous system crafted for you as a way to survive spaces that never made room for your inner world. You learned how to be present without being felt, how to participate without truly arriving, how to sit in a room and make your energy so light, so unobtrusive, that no one ever thinks to look deeper. It's not that you wanted to vanish. It's that disappearing kept you safe. Safe from disappointment, safe from rejection, safe from the ache of opening your heart only to watch it go unnoticed. So you became skilled at reading the room, at sensing tension before anyone else feels it, at adjusting your tone, your expression, your entire emotional temperature to whatever keeps the peace. You blend, you soften, you dim. Not because you lack brightness, but because somewhere along the way you learned that shining comes with consequences. It's an invisible talent, to disappear without leaving, to hold your breath in your own life, to exist quietly enough that no one turns to see where you went. And the longer you practice it, the more natural it begins to feel, until fading becomes a familiar home you never intended to live in. There's a certain expression you've perfected over the years, a calm, steady, composed version of yourself that steps forward before you even realize it's happening. It's the face you wear when someone asks how you're doing, and you answer automatically, almost reflexively, "I'm fine." 2 words that cover everything and reveal nothing. This mask doesn't look like a disguise. It looks like maturity, like self-control, like emotional stability. People praise you for it, for being easy, for being steady, for never causing trouble, for never asking more than what's convenient. But they never see the cost of that smooth exterior. They don't see how many times you swallow words because vulnerability feels like a foreign language you were never taught to speak. They don't see how carefully you measure your emotions, worried that too much honesty might make someone pull away. They don't see the weight you carry from holding everything together alone. Over time, the mask stops feeling like a choice. It becomes a part of you, a practiced calmness, a socially acceptable version of your suffering, a way to move through the world without taking up the emotional space you secretly long for. And underneath, there's a quieter truth pulsing with every heartbeat. You're not actually fine. You're functioning. You're surviving. You're managing. And no one sees the difference because the mask never slips. There's a hesitation that runs deeper than words. A subtle, constant calculation every time you consider sharing what's inside. What if they don't care? What if they judge? What if my feelings make them uncomfortable? The mind whispers these questions again and again, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, you learn to hold yourself back. You convince yourself that asking for space, for attention, for empathy is dangerous. Not because it actually is, but because somewhere along the way, you internalize the belief that your existence is optional, that your emotions are too heavy to carry. So, you carry them alone. You shrink in the presence of others, even when your body aches for recognition. Even when the silent desire to be seen presses against your chest. And the paradox is bitter. You long to be noticed, yet every instinct tells you to stay small, to avoid being a burden, to hide your needs in the quiet corners of your own soul. This fear doesn't vanish with age. It lingers like a shadow in every interaction, guiding how you speak, how you show up, how much of yourself you dare to reveal in a world that often mistakes silence for strength. There's a tension that lives inside you, a silent tug of war between two halves. One half aches to be noticed, to have someone understand the quiet tremors of your mind, the subtle shifts in your heart, the parts of you that never learned how to be reflected back. The other half retreats instinctively, shying away from the possibility that being fully known could lead to rejection, misunderstanding, or hurt. So you stand at the edge of connection, leaning in just enough to hope for recognition, pulling back just enough to stay safe. It's exhausting, this constant dance of approach and retreat, this balancing act of longing and fear. Every smile you offer is measured. Every word you speak is weighed. Every glance you give is calibrated to protect the parts of yourself you don't trust the world to hold. And the irony cuts quietly. The more you guard yourself, the more invisible you feel. And the more invisible you feel, the tighter your walls become. You are caught in the orbit of your own longing, spinning between the desire to shine and the instinct to disappear. The mind doesn't forget what the heart endured, even if the memory seems insignificant. A rolled eye, a dismissive word, a glance that passed you by. These tiny cuts carve themselves into the fabric of your nervous system. They accumulate quietly, like raindrops hollowing a stone. A micro-rejection here, a subtle dismissal there, until your body begins to expect to be unseen. You feel it in your chest, a tightening that never fully releases. In your gut, a constant low hum of vigilance. Your breath may even shallow unconsciously when someone's attention drifts elsewhere, when laughter excludes you, when words fail to land in the space where you exist. These are the invisible scars of being overlooked. Not dramatic enough to announce themselves, but persistent enough to shape how you move, how you speak, how you inhabit the world. And without realizing it, you begin to anticipate invisibility. You brace for absence, expect disappointment, and the nervous system, once a protector, becomes a subtle enforcer of your own quiet isolation. Over time, the quiet neglect, the subtle dismissals, the small invisibilities, they weave themselves into a narrative that feels like truth. Maybe I'm just not the kind of person people notice. Maybe my feelings don't matter. Maybe it's safer to stay small. These thoughts are not random. They are the mind's attempt to make sense of what was never acknowledged. A story built from fragments of misunderstanding, rejection, and absence. The problem is, the story becomes a lens, shaping every interaction, every relationship, every thought you have about yourself. It whispers that you are less, even when the world offers glimpses to the contrary. You begin to act in accordance with the story, even unconsciously, pulling back when someone leans in, shrinking when someone reaches out, dimming when attention is offered. And the cruel irony settles in quietly. The story you believe ensures that the very thing you crave, being seen, being understood, remains just out of reach. Even when the mind forgets, the body carries the memory of invisibility. Muscles tighten without warning. The chest constricts. The stomach knots. A low hum of anxiety whispers in your veins, reminding you of every moment you learned to shrink, to soften, to disappear. The body doesn't lie. It remembers the times you withheld your voice, the times you dimmed your laughter,
the times you let others occupy the space that should have been yours. And these memories do not vanish with rational understanding. No amount of reassurance or logical reasoning can fully undo the imprint of years spent blending in. Instead, the body carries it quietly, like a shadow following you through the simplest motions, raising a hand to speak, leaning into a conversation, even just sitting still in a room. Every breath becomes a subtle negotiation between the part of you that longs to emerge and the part that has learned silence is safer. The body remembers, and until it is acknowledged, every attempt to be seen feels like stepping into a room that is somehow not yours to occupy.
There's a quiet pattern that repeats in the relationships you form, an invisible thread guiding who you allow close. Often, it's not conscious. You are drawn to those who overlook you or who demand less of your presence than you secretly desire. They mirror the familiar rhythm of neglect, the subtle coldness that your body learned to anticipate. And when someone truly tries to see you, your instinct pulls back. You flinch at attention. Unease rises where curiosity should bloom. It's not that you don't crave recognition. It's that recognition feels unfamiliar, almost unsafe, like stepping onto a floor you've never walked before. The mind tries to rationalize, but the pull is energetic, subconscious. It's the echo of old imprints, the gravitational pull of patterns you were shaped by long ago. And so the cycle continues. You seek connection, but you settle for echoes of what you've always known, even when your heart aches for something different. There comes a moment, quiet but undeniable, when you realize how much of yourself has been left unseen, not just by others, but by the person you've been all along. You look back and see the spaces you didn't occupy, the words you didn't say, the emotions you tucked away to survive. And it feels like a subtle haunting. You've been present everywhere, yet never fully there for yourself. A ghost moving through your own story, watching life unfold from the edges, while the center, the core of your being, remained hidden. The truth is heavy but clear. You've been living according to the world's gaze, not your own. Shaped by the absence of notice, the silence of others, the reflexive habit of fading into the background. It is a quiet grief, the realization that the self you've been protecting has been quietly neglected. And in protecting it from harm, you've also protected it from being fully alive. And yet, even in the shadow of all those years, there is a soft, unassuming doorway back to you. It doesn't arrive with fanfare or certainty. It is subtle. A pause in the body, a gentle noticing of what you feel, a breath taken without apology. You begin to inhabit your own presence again, slowly at first, testing the boundaries of your own attention, allowing yourself to take up space without fear. The world may not notice. It may not mirror you back perfectly. And yet, that no longer matters, because finally, the gaze that counts is your own. The quiet acknowledgement of your existence, the soft acceptance of your thoughts, the tender recognition of your emotions. This becomes the anchor, the sanctuary, the home. The journey back is not dramatic. It is whispered, felt in the small moments of permission, to speak, to laugh, to sit, to breathe, to simply be. And in that stillness, the body, the mind, the heart, all begin to remember what it means to be seen. First and foremost, by yourself.